My name's Elena Brooks. I'm 34, co-founder and COO of a fintech firm in downtown Chicago. And last week, I learned, officially, that blood doesn't always mean belonging. It started with a group text I wasn't in. My brother Mason let it slip in a separate message. Hey, just FYI, Mom's 60th birthday dinner is this Saturday at Il Forno. Just family. Just family. 2 words that hung in my throat longer than I care to admit. I stared at them like they were a puzzle I should have known how to solve. I typed out, "So I'm not invited?" Then deleted it, rewrote it, deleted it again. Finally, I hit send. He never replied. Rachel did. 2 hours later, my younger sister, the golden child who stayed local, married young and never missed a Sunday dinner. Her text was short and sharp. "Don't make this about you, Elena." That was it. No emoji, no soft landing. I didn't answer. Not because I had nothing to say. I had too much to say. But what's the point in trying to speak when you've already been muted? It's not like I haven't tried. I've sent gifts, wired money when Rachel's mortgage fell behind, paid off part of Mason's student loan when he got laid off. No one asked me to. I just did it. Quietly. Like a family member's supposed to. I never expected applause. But I didn't expect silence either, and now, I wasn't even worth a seat at the table. The thing is, I didn't leave out of rebellion. I left because staying meant shrinking. I built my life from scratch, with a cracked screen laptop, vending machine dinners, and a stubbornness my father once called exhausting. That stubbornness now runs a company that supports 70 employees and helps small banks automate responsibly. But in my family's world, I'm still the one who left and made things complicated. I wasn't disowned. That would have been cleaner, more honest. This was erasure by omission. A soft delete, like slowly fading out of a photo until you're nothing but a ghost in the corner. And the first hand to press delete wasn't a stranger. It was the same hand I helped the most. Rachel. No yelling. No slamming doors. Just exclusion, gift-wrapped as a decision they were all apparently fine with. That's the part that hurt most. I didn't grow up dreaming about IPOs or predictive banking models. I grew up in a ranch house outside Joliet, Illinois, where success was measured by how often you showed up to church and whether your lawn was trimmed before the weekend. So when I left at 18 with 2 suitcases and a laptop that overheated every 45 minutes, no one threw me a going-away party. My mom packed me a cooler of frozen meals. My dad said, "Hope this phase passes." It didn't. Fast forward a decade, and I'd helped build one of the fastest-growing fintech startups in the Midwest. We work with community banks, streamline compliance, save people real money. My LinkedIn inbox is a war zone of recruiters, and our company was just featured in a Forbes blurb. But at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, when my uncle asked what I did for a living, my dad waved a hand and said, "Something with apps and money. It's complicated." Rachel laughed like it was an inside joke. Mason changed the subject. I stirred my cranberry sauce and said nothing. They've always seen me as the distant one, the out-of-state daughter. Too busy, too different, too much. Rachel once told a friend I was basically a tech person, like it was a bad thing. Funny, because when her marriage ended and she was drowning in credit card debt, it was that tech person who sent over a wire transfer before the banks could start collection calls. $7,500. No strings, no lecture, just help. She never said thank you. Never even acknowledged it beyond a vague post on Facebook about God's mysterious timing. I was the mystery, apparently. And for a long time, I convinced myself that maybe that's what love looked like in my family. Quiet, misshapen, incomplete. That you didn't need validation if you were strong enough. But that night, after Mason's text and Rachel's clipped reply, it all snapped into focus. I hadn't walked away from them. They had quietly reshaped the family to make it easier for them to understand. And in that new shape, I simply didn't fit. I was no longer the black sheep. I was the sheep they didn't even count anymore. And here's the kicker. I wasn't even angry at first. I was tired. Tired of shrinking myself to make them comfortable. Tired of pretending being left out didn't sting. Tired of showing up in silence just to be ignored in plain sight. I finally said the thing I'd never let myself say out loud. They're not confused. They're just committed to misunderstanding me. And if that's the case, then maybe it's time I stopped trying to explain myself at all. Maybe it was time they learned to listen. 3 weeks after the birthday dinner I wasn't invited to, I walked into our Monday onboarding session at the office, coffee in one hand, HR folder in the other. Nothing unusual, just 5 new hires, fresh faces with crisp shirts and over-rehearsed smiles. I went through my usual welcome spiel, company values, cross-team collaboration, the "we're a flat structure, not a pyramid" bit. And then my eyes landed on the last seat to the right. Brian. I didn't place him at first, not fully, but something about the way he kept his shoulders tight, the hesitation in his smile, the way his eyes darted toward the floor when I said, "My name," it all clicked. Brian, Rachel's boyfriend. The same guy who showed up in her Christmas photos last year wearing a cable-knit sweater and an awkward half-smile. The one they said was a good church guy, the safe choice after Kyle. Now here he was, in my company's analytics department, as clueless as I once was when I stepped onto a bus headed for a future no one believed I could build. He didn't say anything during the entire meeting, not a single question, not even when I opened the floor. But as the others left to meet with HR, he lingered. "Miss Brooks," he started, then caught himself. "Sorry, Elena." "Elena's fine," I said, not missing a beat. "Unless you're planning to break something expensive." He laughed, nervous. "I didn't know. I mean, I knew the company, but I didn't realize you were Rachel's sister," I figured. He looked at the ground, then back up. "She never mentioned, well, she doesn't really talk about you." I raised an eyebrow. "Not surprising?" He paused, then said quietly, "Is this weird? Me being here? I mean, only if you make it weird." That seemed to settle something in him. He nodded. "I really respect what you've built here. Honestly. Then let's keep it about the work." And with that, he walked out. But something shifted in that moment. Not in him, in me. For the first time, someone from their world had stepped into mine, and instead of shrinking back or pretending I didn't exist, he stayed. He looked. He saw. I didn't tell anyone. Not HR, not my co-founders. I didn't need to. I wasn't planning some big confrontation or calling Rachel out in a group chat. I'd done enough explaining in my life. This time, I'd let the facts speak, and the fact was simple. Brian now worked for me. Not out of pity, not by force. He applied, was vetted, hired, onboarded, just like anyone else. And now, every time he walked through our glass doors, he'd be reminded of something Rachel never said out loud. I didn't fade away. I rose. Quietly. Completely. Let them call it coincidence. I called it clarity. I didn't crash the party. I arrived dressed in slate blue silk, heels clicking like punctuation, exactly 5 minutes after the appetizers were served. The hostess at Lombardi's looked at me, then at the reservation list, hesitated. I gave her my name and smiled politely. "Private room in the back, right?" She nodded, unsure, and led me through a corridor of clinking silverware and birthday candles. The laughter hit me first. Loud, familiar, carefree in a way that only exists when people don't realize who's missing. My mother's voice rang out, followed by Rachel's laugh, and I spotted Mason gesturing wildly about something. They looked happy. They looked full, until they saw me. I didn't have to say a word. Forks paused midair, conversations stumbled, to awkward halts, and the entire room dipped into a thick, humming silence. My father was the first to speak, his voice laced with performative smugness. "Well, look who decided to show up." I didn't look at him. I walked calmly toward my mother, who sat at the center of the table in a soft lavender blouse and pearl earrings that I remembered from high school prom. I gently placed the envelope in front of her. "Happy birthday, Mom," I said. "I hope it's everything you deserve." She blinked, confused, then picked up the envelope with cautious hands. Inside, 2 first-class tickets to Norway and Sweden, a Scandinavian cruise, something she mentioned in passing 30 years ago over burnt toast and Folgers coffee. She'd said she wanted to see the northern lights before her knees gave out. I remembered. She never thought I would. Her fingers trembled as she read the itinerary, and for a second, I saw the years fall from her face. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her eyes met mine, uncertain, almost afraid. From the far end of the table, my father cleared his throat and scoffed, louder this time. "Always have to make an entrance, huh, Elena? Couldn't just send a card like normal people?" Still, I didn't look at him. I wasn't here for him. I was here to be seen, not to perform. I never thought the thing that would finally push my mother over the edge would be my wedding. Not a divorce, not a scandal, not even one of my murals getting painted over by some bitter city official. No. What truly set her off was the fact that I dared to plan a wedding in the backyard of the home Elias and I had built together from scratch. When I told her over the phone, there was a long pause, exactly 4 seconds of silence, and then she scoffed. "A backyard wedding, Courtney? What is this? Summer camp for barefoot hippies?" I almost laughed. Almost. Because I saw that reaction coming. I knew her well enough to anticipate the thinly veiled disgust. But expecting something doesn't mean it doesn't hurt like hell when it actually happens. It wasn't about the venue. It never is with her. It was the fact that the entire idea didn't revolve around aesthetics, optics, or social media bragging rights. No chandeliers, no 200-ahead-plated dinners, no orchestras or fancy embossed napkins, just string lights, home-cooked food, and the sound of people who genuinely loved each other. And to her, that wasn't a wedding. It was an embarrassment. She didn't even bother pretending she might come. There was no, "let me check my schedule," or "keep me posted." Just that same cold judgment that had defined our relationship for as long as I could remember. One by one, the RSVPs from my family turned into polite excuses or radio silence. No cousins, no uncles, not even a courtesy text from my father. The only one who responded with a real yes was Aunt Myra from Colorado, who once mailed me a handmade card for my birthday with pressed flowers inside. Because she knew I liked wildflowers more than roses. I wish I could say I was unfazed. That I was this emotionally bulletproof bride with a Zen mindset and an iron spine. But the truth is, when I hung up that call with my mom, I just sat on the porch for an hour, staring at the patch of land where we'd planned to set up the chairs, wondering why doing something beautiful in my own way was still, somehow, not enough. I wasn't asking for a red carpet. I just wanted my family to show up. But apparently, love without spectacle is invisible to some people. Caroline and I are twins, but you'd never know it unless someone told you. She was always the golden child, literally and figuratively. Blonde hair, pageant smile, and a laugh that made people lean in. I was the quieter one, the one who colored outside the lines and asked too many questions. To my mother, Caroline was the daughter you showed off. I was the daughter you assigned tasks to. I still remember her wedding, like it was yesterday, mostly because I wasn't really in it. Sure, I was there. I was breathing. But I wasn't part of it. I didn't walk down the aisle, didn't wear matching dresses with the bridal party. Hell, I wasn't even seated with the family. My job was to hold a clipboard, earpiece in, circling, The venue like some underpaid wedding coordinator, making sure the caterer didn't run out of shrimp cocktail and the violinist didn't start too early. I wore flats I bought for $12.99 because my heels broke the night before, and by the time Caroline had her first dance, my toes were bleeding. The only photo I ever saw of myself from that entire weekend was a blurry shot someone posted on Facebook, where I was in the background carrying a tray of champagne flutes. Someone tagged me and captioned it, "The staff did a great job." I didn't bother correcting them. I just liked the comment and moved on, because deep down, I knew my role had been assigned a long time ago. I was never the daughter in the spotlight. I was the one who made sure the spotlight didn't flicker. And it wasn't just that wedding. It was birthdays, school plays, college graduation. Caroline got roses. I got logistics. She got the proud tears, the custom scrapbooks, the My Daughter the Bride stories at book club. I got silence, or worse, indifference disguised as support. "You're just not really a center of attention kind of person," Mom would say with a sympathetic smile, like it was a blessing, not a boundary she'd built for me. But this time, this wedding? I wasn't handing out champagne. I wasn't adjusting someone else's veil. I wasn't waiting behind the curtain to be told when to clap. This time, it was my name on the invitation, even if half my family pretended not to see it. And I wasn't looking for their applause. I didn't need a ballroom or a string quartet or a 5-tier fondant monstrosity. I just needed Elias. I needed our backyard. I needed the wind to catch the paper lanterns I strung up at 2 a.m. with blistered fingers and zip ties. And for once, I needed to stand in the center of something without apologizing for taking up space. Let them scroll past. Let them gossip. Let them judge my RSVP count like it was a report card. I wasn't planning a performance. I was building a memory. One that wouldn't require retouching, staging, or parental approval. One where I finally got to be more than a blurry figure in the background. I didn't walk down an aisle lined with imported orchids. There was no organ music swelling in the background, no ring bearer in a tuxedo too big for his tiny shoulders. What we had was simpler, quieter, but somehow more honest than anything I'd ever seen in a bridal magazine. I wore a soft cream, linen dress that Elias made for me with his own 2 hands, after watching dozens of YouTube tutorials and stabbing himself with pins more times than he'd admit. It wasn't perfect. The hem was uneven, one of the seams puckered slightly, but I've never felt more beautiful in anything else. Not because of how it looked, but because of what it meant. Every stitch was a small declaration. I choose you. I build with you. I believe in you. Our guests, only about 20 of them, sat on mismatched chairs we'd collected from neighbors and thrift stores, each one tied with scraps of ribbon dyed in earthy shades of rust, sage, and dusty rose. The long wooden table was a Frankenstein of reclaimed pallet boards that Elias sanded for days until they stopped splintering. And the food, God, the food, was nothing you'd find on a catering menu. It was homemade vegan chili from our next-door neighbor, roasted rosemary potatoes from my best friend, a salad of wild greens that Elias and I had picked the morning before from the trail behind our house. No servers, no name tags, just bowls, passed hand to hand, plates refilled without asking, seconds offered like love notes. There was no officiant, no, "Ladies and gentlemen, please rise." When it was time, Elias took my hand and led me to the tree we'd always called ours, a giant maple that turns fire red every fall. The guests fell quiet, the way people do when something sacred is about to begin. And then we spoke. No scripts, no crowd-pleasing jokes, just raw, unpolished words that cracked and trembled because they were real. I told him that he was the first place I'd ever felt safe to take up space. He told me I was the first person who ever saw all of him and didn't flinch. Somewhere in the middle, a breeze rustled through the paper lanterns we'd hung the night before, and a few of them spun gently, like the trees themselves were nodding in approval. There were no mothers dabbing tears with satin gloves, no staged photo ops with flower walls or mirrored signs saying Mr. and Mrs. And you know what? I didn't miss a thing. Not the family that didn't show, not the fake smiles or the forced traditions. I looked around that garden, that homegrown DIY miracle of a wedding, and I saw nothing but people who chose to be there. People who showed up without needing to be impressed or appeased. And in that moment, I realized I hadn't lost a family. I had finally built one. River had shown up with nothing but her old Super 8 camera and a shoulder bag full of film rolls that smelled faintly like dust and ambition. She didn't ask for a shot list, didn't stage anything. She just wandered, quietly through the backyard like a ghost with good timing, catching moments the way a net catches falling leaves. I didn't even notice half the time that she was filming, until days later, when she sent me a Dropbox link with the subject line, "This is yours now." I opened it late at night, curled up on the couch with Elias half asleep beside me. Andi mate. Seconds. That's all it was. No voiceover. No dramatic music. Just the ambient noise of wind through trees, laughter echoing off wood fences, the soft clink of glass jars as we toasted with homemade lavender lemonade. The opening shot was Elias, wiping his palms on his pants nervously. The next, me tying a ribbon around a jar of wildflowers with trembling fingers. Then us, barefoot on the flagstone patio, dancing beneath paper lanterns swaying like stars pretending to be close. It wrecked me. In the gentlest, most complete way, I watched it 3 times in a row before I posted it. No hashtags, no trending. Audio. Just a quiet caption, October 2nd. Just love. Just home. I figured maybe a few close friends would see it. Maybe a couple of neighbors would comment something sweet. Instead, by morning, my notifications were on fire. People I didn't know were resharing it with captions like, "This is what love looks like," or "Proof that beauty isn't in the budget, it's in the meaning." By noon, a wedding design blog had messaged me asking if they could feature it. By dinner time, it had been picked up by 2 digital magazines. One of them titled the article, "The Most Beautiful Mountain Wedding You've Never Seen." That's when my phone rang. Caller ID. Mom. I stared at it for a while before answering. A small part of me hoped, naively, that maybe she'd softened. Maybe the video had shifted something. Maybe she'd say she was proud, or at least ask if I was happy. Instead, her voice came through clipped and tight. "You should have told me there would be press. I'm getting messages. People are asking why we weren't there."